Hello all, and welcome to a very quick PowerPoint that's going to take you through 6 key terms about experiments to help you deepen your understanding to use appropriate and accurate technical language. We'll also try and help you to apply those definitions to provide examples of your own. At the beginning and the end of the presentation, we've got some warm-up slides. And they're there, the warm-up slides at the beginning and the warm-down slides at the end, because this is a demanding exercise, are there to help you make more connections for yourself and to broaden out your understanding of research methods and see how it reaches into every area of psychology. Okay, so let's get on with a bit of warm-up. Don't forget that you can pause this at any moment. You're encouraged to pause at various times, and I'll tell you when that is. But if you want to just slow down and make a few connections of your own, then that's very important that you do so. Okay, so let's click on. So using the words laboratory experiment in the beginning, in the center as your reference point, just give yourself, just pause it for a moment actually, and give yourself a chance to see how many connections you can make between the little words and the big words, or between the small words themselves. You know, what's the connection between mundane realism and ecological validity, for example, or what's the connection between manipulating and the independent variable, that sort of thing. So see if you can do as many as possible. And there are 5 or 6, I think, warm-up slides like this. Let's have a look. Same again here. This one's about designing experiments. You might want to ask yourself, why are some words in capital letters? What's the significance of that? And again, just pause it for a moment and make some connections. Again, some ideas around the idea of a field experiment. Again, see what connections you can make. Nothing doesn't have to be anything too detailed at the moment. We're going to be hitting you with some detail in the middle. Okay. Again, quasi-experiments, another topic from the specification. See if you can make connections between those things, between the small words, and between the small words and the big word. I think it's finally natural experiment. Again, look for what connections you can make here. Wow, okay. Now that you're fully warmed up and raring to go, pause your screen on this one and use the words down the left here to write yourself a definition of what you understand an experiment to be, making sure that you include all of those experiments, all of those bullet points there. Okay. Then when you've written your definition, unpause the screen and see if you've come up with anything close to this. Okay, we've got a few more of these to do, so we'll push on. Again, we're going to try and define a lab experiment, making sure that you get all these key technical pieces of language down the left hand side in. So pause it now, write your definition. When you've done your definition, click on. And again, there's an example that you've got. There's an example of a definition I've written. And now I'd like you to give an example of a lab experiment investigating the connection between noise as an independent variable and DV, the DV as a score in a maths test. Just explain how you would do an experiment, a lab experiment to investigate that. So again, pause the video when you're writing that down, and then click on when you've finished. So process for field experiment. Make sure that you've got all these words in again. Check that you've got something similar to this. And again, give an example of a field experiment, maybe using this as a scenario. the IV being the appearance of a beggar, and the DV being the amount of money given. Okay, pause it for a moment, write down how you would check that one out. Then we'll push on to the next one. Again, a quasi-experiment, very different in some ways from the other two. Using the bullet points on the left, pause the show and then write your own version. And hopefully you've got something like this. And as we've seen here, we've got two types of quasi-experiments, natural experiments and different studies. So using the language about a natural experiment down the left-hand side there, write your own definition, not forgetting to pause the video, and check if it's something similar to this. Maybe you might want to come up with your own version of a natural experiment using the idea of an earthquake as the independent variable and rates of mental illness as the dependent variable. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Don't forget to pause here and use these ideas here to help you define what we mean by a different study. Once you've written your definition, click on to see if you've got this. Maybe you could do your own different study and use this as an example. The quasi-IV being gender, the dependent variable being rates of mental illness. Okay, I think that's everything now, so it's time for a bit of a warm down. Work your way through the next few slides, making as many connections as you can, now that you know so much more about experiments. And have a lovely day.